started. Okay, so in this training is going to be a kind of a training on how to, but also a open Q&A for as we move through building and integrating your calendar. So let me screen share because I am a big time visual person. Okay, so I am in my company self-made hub. So I'm in my Mom to Millionaire. I'm going to go right to my launch pad. So when you log in, this is exactly what it's going to look like for you guys. Now, if you're watching this in the future, we have some really cool updates to this launch pad. So it may not look exactly like this, but it's going to be the spot where you initially log in and you can find all of your good stuff, right? So from here, how many of you, if you guys can in the chat, available to chat, how many of you guys are using a different calendar other than Google Calendar? Reason I ask that is because right now, the easiest, most simple integration calendar is going to be Google Calendar into the hub. It does do Outlook Calendar as well, but if it is an iCal, if you are using iCal, then that one is Apple has not opened up integration to be able to integrate into any calendar software that we have. So that one's going to be tough. And so there's just going to be a few things. So yes, Jill, Outlook will work. Google Calendar works. Good job, Kathleen. I know you just launched that Google Calendar. So Teresa's an iPhone calendar. So I guess with that, if you are an iCal, the question that I would ask is, are you open to shifting everything over to a Google Calendar instead? Because that will integrate extremely, extremely well, seamlessly, really. If not, then I will have to do a little bit of digging and try to find like a Zap that would allow us to use that inside of here. So we'd have to have a little Zap that would connect them, and that will just take me a little bit to figure out. So either way, whether you have whatever calendar, Teresa will talk later, but either way, this is the setup of how you would do it. Okay. So no matter what, I'll walk you through how to get this thing going. So first things first is you want to go down into your settings. So down at the bottom of your left-hand side, you're going to click on settings. You're then going to go to integrations, which is down underneath other settings. So you're going to see integrations. When you click on integrations, this is where you're going to connect your Google. Okay. So if you already have your Gmail attached, you're good to go on this one. If you don't have it attached yet, then you want to integrate right here. So you're going to have to put in obviously your email and your password and then get connected. You just sign in with Google and it'll connect you all right there. Okay, so that's first. Now, I'm going to be totally transparent. When I first set up my calendar here, it was not straightforward in understanding what I did after that. I figured if I connected my Gmail, because since I have a Google Calendar, it'll just happen. It does not. So here is the step I was missing for a little bit, and then I found it. So under settings, we integrated our Gmail. Does anyone have? I may want to go to Google with iCal. So, okay, yeah, and I'll just tell you, like, I used iCal for a long time. I just like the Google a lot more because most people in the business world, especially if you are scheduling appointments for people to jump on a coaching call with you or a consultation call, or they want to book something with you, most of them they're going to have a Google Calendar as well. And so your settings look the same. And when you invite them or they book with you, it's going to integrate really well because most people are using Google Calendar, that or Outlook. So I just, that's one big reason. But another one is the ease of being able to share your calendar with others is much easier in the Google side of things than the iCal Apple side of things. So if you have a business partner or anything like that, it becomes a lot easier to be able to share a single calendar or a couple calendars within your Google Calendar with them and not the whole thing. It's a much easier process. And so that is one thing that, yeah, Teresa, I switched over to iCal many years ago, and I actually fell in love with Google pretty quickly. So I think you'll have the same thing, especially with all like your tax clients and stuff like that. We definitely be able to have some really good integration with that. Okay, so now that we're back in settings, we connected our Gmail, right? We connected our Google. Now what I want you to do is in settings, in this very top part where it's my business, we're gonna click on my staff. Now, this is where I got stuck. I was like, well, of course I'm already set up in here. I am the only person in my hub. So I didn't even think to come here. So this is where we actually are going to integrate things. So when you hit my staff, you should be the only one here. A side note is if you have employees or you have a VA or you have a business partner or whatever, you can add them right here by clicking add employee. Yes, they might not be an employee, but you can add them here and you can give them the type of access you want, whether it's an admin or it's a lesser where they can't make money changes, but they can get in there and help you work with stuff. So like our VA for our company they have a login of their own to get into our hub. And they're able to go in there and work on the social media stuff. Okay, so there's some really cool things there. But what you're going to do for calendar is you're going to click here under action. You're going to click the little pencil. And this is where your personal information and everything is going to be. So this is where you can change your picture within your hub. But when we go all the way down here, well, here's like your outgoing messages. You can actually set that if you want to. Obviously, every time you create those, you can set them how you want them. Your user permissions, you can, this is like where you would allow your employees to have access or no access, right? So they would have here, user roles, user availability. So this right here is the first part of the calendar. Not sure why it's not opening. Because, okay, so this is part of your calendar and it doesn't make sense. You're like, wait, I'm over here on my staff, but I want to be in calendar. This is also in the calendar, but if we set it up here, it's automatically shared over there. So I want you guys to go in here and here's where you can decide what is your usual place you're going to meet people on. Is it Zoom or is it a phone call? Is it Google Meet if that's what you use? So I use Zoom. Obviously, I don't know why I didn't connect Zoom, but you would hit Zoom and you would log in. You would have your Zoom here. So when they create any schedule with you on your calendar, this is what's going to be sent to them unless you change it. And I'll show you how to do that in the future here on this Zoom. But I'll show you how you can do custom locations for each appointment too. So what are your typical available hours is going to be here. So this is the typical time you're going to allow people to schedule on your calendar. And this is the whole range. And know that we're going to also we're going to have it know that these are the conflicts I have. So don't schedule me in those areas. So when you use Google, you give the hub permission to see the conflicts and they won't allow that to be an open slot for your prospects or your clients or your customers who are scheduling on your calendar. Okay. So we never, ever, ever, ever want duplicate, double booked. So this is where you're going to set up just your available hours. If you change Monday and you said, these are going to be my hours every single week, you can copy to all and it will automatically go there. Now, if you wanted it to be like, let's for instance, say on Tuesdays, I want to go from 9 to noon, but then I want to have a break and I don't want to have to put it in my calendar that I have a break. So I would allow them to schedule with me 9 to noon. And then I would add hours right here down below. we'd add hours to Tuesday, and then I would say 1:30 to 5, right? So if you have a day where you want to kind of split things up, or if each day is kind of split up, then you can customize that right here. This becomes your office hours. Like if you were a brick and mortar, right, and you were answering phones or you were whatever, taking it on clients, these are the hours that you would do it. Now, some of you might have a day during the week where you're like, you know what? I'm going to take the whole day off, but then I'm going to have evening hours for calls because it makes sense for your business. So just know like how you want to do this. Now, I don't just stop at 4, but I don't want people to have immediate access to all of my hours after 4, right? So I want to be able to allow them to have freedom to pick things between 9 to 4. And if I need to have a schedule outside of that, then I can predict that, right? So I'm in more control. So that just gives you guys some hours there. And then once you get that set, is everybody good before I move on? Do you have any questions about availability at this point? You guys can unmute and ask if you do.
I hate to ask this because I'm making you go back. I just connected my Google.
Yeah.
And now I'm on my staff page. What am I missing there?
Okay. So
the same thing.
Yep. So when you hit my staff, this is what pops up, right? Well,
No.
hold on. That's not what pops up. This is what
Right.
pops up.
Yes, ma'am.
And then you're going to click on this little pencil.
Okay.
Now you're in this part.
Okay. Yes. All right.
And you're going to come down to the bottom here where it says user availability.
Thank you. Sorry about that.
Oh gosh, no, don't be sorry. That's what this call's for.
Natasha, I have a question too. It's not about scheduling though, is I've not been able to put a picture in here. Like I have the same pictures you had, like from Traverse City,
Yeah.
but mine all say the file's too big.
Okay, yep. So what I had to do is I took this picture, I threw it into Canva.
Okay.
And I sized it down to 15 or 512 by 512.
All right, thank you.
Yep. Absolutely. So once you get this schedule in there, this, like I said, this is just kind of like your base. You can change it over in the other section I'm going to show you. But this would be your typical office hours. And then the next step, so once you get those hours in, the next step is user calendar configuration, which is the next little thing here. So you want to choose your primary calendar. And so if you have Google set into here, don't worry about that part. We're just doing the primary calendar. What is the primary calendar as people book with you that you want to have this be connected to? So some may be like, I don't know what you mean by that, correct? So let me see here. Okay. I'm going to just show you this one. This is my one calendar. Well, actually, you know what? I don't even care. I'm going to show you the big one, the big calendar. Okay, so this is my big calendar here. And yes, Teresa. Good. Okay, so this is my big calendar. And why I love this on Google is I have all these different calendars all over here, and I can show myself what I want to see at all times. And I can share certain things with certain people, and I don't have to share my whole calendar with them, okay? So when you look at your calendars on Google, you may just have a couple, right? You just might have your name and then something else. So what does the calendar that you want all of your business scheduled calls and stuff look like on your calendar? What calendar do you want it to be part of? And you may have to add a calendar, right? So down here on other calendars, and so I'm showing you Google, you would click the plus sign and you would hit create new calendar. And this is what you can name it. So like Jill, yours would be, you know, if you want to name it the bright side, or if you have 2 different or 3 different businesses or different things that you're going to have calls being scheduled or meetings being scheduled, you would make sure that you have a calendar for each one of them. But what is your primary one? Your primary one will be your business name. So like I have Mom to Millionaire as my primary one because that's my brand name. That's my company name. So you'd create that calendar. and then you would just hit create. Once it's created and you have it over here in Google, when you go back to the hub, you'll be able to choose which one you want. So you can see I can choose which one I want here, and I'm going to make sure I do that. And this is going to be, you don't have to set that, but so your primary calendar is going to be the main one that these are going to be scheduled to. So if I went over to my Google and I looked at all the Mom to Millionaire calendar, if that's the only one I was showing, I would see all the things that people booked with me through my business, and I wouldn't see anything else.
Do you mind going through those steps again?
Yep, no problem. So, just the calendar and configuration.
Right, just.
Yep. So we got to choose a actual calendar. And so when you go over here to your calendar, you may only have like your name, right? Your name, maybe holidays. If it's a new calendar, actually I can show you this one. This is
What did you click on in the hub though to
I am over on
pick it?
Google Calendar. I'm not in the hub anymore. I'm just literally on calendar.google.com. So the hub, I'm not looking at the hub at all, and I didn't hit anything on the hub to create this. I am on a separate URL tab for calendar.google.com. So if you are brand new to Google, you may not have any calendars here, right? Because this is a brand new one. So I can hit here, the plus sign, and I can create a new calendar. So I have Natasha Roberson, I have birthdays, and I have holidays. But maybe on this one, I want to be Mom to Millionaire. I always want to do .com. So if I hit create calendar off of that, it's in progress. It pops over here. So now I have 3 calendars. I have my name, birthdays, and Mom to Millionaire. Are you good, Kathleen?
Yes, I got it. Thank you.
Perfect. So you can see this is what a new view looks like in this calendar, because there's not much here. This is one I use every single day for all aspects of my life. So I have a calendar for every aspect of my life, and that's how I color code things. So if it's just my personal stuff, it's under this calendar. If it's my business stuff, if it's baseball schedule, if it's both boys have the same thing, if it's a family thing, I have every single different kind of calendar in here that I would need in my life. So when I look at my calendar, as you can see, it's all color coded. I know what color means what by just seeing a color. Does that make sense? It's really helpful to the eye. So back over in the hub is where you're going to choose that primary calendar, whether it's your business name or your personal name, whatever one that you have, you'll select that one. Then in this next part is where if you have multiple calendars, you want to make sure all the calendars you are like your priority things, that no matter what, if there's something booked within that calendar, the hub says, oh, they're busy. That time is not available for this person. Then we have to choose those conflicts of interest right here off of the calendar. Okay, go ahead, Jill.
Mine says calendar not selected for sync. Did I mess something up on that?
Calendar not selected for what?
Sync, and that's under the primary calendar.
Okay, so did you hit edit?
Yeah,
And
I guess I just
you chose
okay,
the email of your Gmail that you have your calendar set to, correct?
yes. Okay,
And so
now it's working.
this should just be highlighted versus this one.
Yeah, that's what I didn't do. Sorry. Thank
Oh,
you.
no, you're fine. No, those are good steps, because it's hard when I've already set up mine to remember all the little tiny little, clicks, right?
Yeah, it's shown in it was shown in the bottom. So thank you.
You're welcome. So now we will go to check conflicts. You're going to hit obviously edit. And because I have my full all calendar selected as my primary, these are all the calendars I have on there. So what I want to make sure that all of my, like, okay, if I have these calls, nobody can schedule during that time. So like for me, not all of these are going to be chosen because they're not priorities where I have to be on them and I couldn't schedule something else, right? So like you wouldn't say birthdays because then, well, every time there's a birthday on your calendar, the hub is going to be like, oh, they're busy that day. So we don't want to select birthdays, but we might want to select your business appointments, your family appointments, your, those priority things that you cannot take a business call during that if something is also scheduled, okay? So you're just going to make sure those are all selected that make sense for you. And then you're going to click on save. And now you guys can see why I needed to do a separate full training just for calendar, because it is a lot of little steps, but once it's set up, it's such a beautiful thing. It's amazing. All right. Does anyone have any questions before I move to the next part? That was all just kind of integrating it, making sure we're synced and that we have our conflicts chosen so we don't have double booking issues in the future. Okay, so next, you're going to click on over here on the left-hand side, you're going to actually click on calendar. So remember, right now we're in my staff, even though it looks like we're in a calendar, we're in my staff. Now we're going to go over here to calendar itself under business services. And now we can start creating some of our calendars where people are going to have access to schedule services or events, calls, you name it with us. Okay. So some of you may only have one, right? You may only have one that might be a one-on-one consult call, or you might go, wait. I actually need a few here because I might do a 30-minute meet and see if we're a good fit, or when I might have to do a 45-minute to review any surveys or forms that they filled out to see if they are qualified to be your client. You just have to decide, like, what are the different appointments that I would need in my calendar for people to book. Now, just want to put this out there that when you create these different calendars, each calendar link for that style of booking can be separate URL. So when they go to your calendar to book, they're not going to see all the options that you have for them to book. They're going to literally see only the option you sent them to be able to book. Does that make sense? So let's, for instance, just say this. I think this is a good example, is my office hours are from 9 to 4. But what if I don't want to take any tech calls after noon? I only want my tech calls to be available from 9 to noon. Well, I would create a calendar just for tech call support, right? So tech call support, when I create that calendar, I will designate how much time it is and all of that, and what times of the day I will allow them to book that specific style of call. Does that make sense? Like, so you can get really creative with this, and it doesn't keep that appointment available for all day, Monday through Friday, like you have in your custom calendar. So you can get a little creative and you can really structure your day the way you want it, not how people are. Like, you control your calendar, people aren't controlling your calendar, which I think is really, 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 really important. Okay. So now that we're here, obviously you see some that I've already created, but this is where we can create a calendar. So up here in the top right, we're gonna go ahead and say create calendar. These calendars pop up. What do these mean, right? What do these mean? Well, this is a service calendar. I don't use this one. This simple calendar is truly the only one I use, the only one I'm using right now. If you had a team of, say, 3 people, that all could do the same thing for this call, and the calendar would just choose who's available at whatever time. The round robin allows you to use that. So more people, it's checking more people's schedules, right? Most of you are going to be all, like I said, going back to the simple calendar. A class booking, that's if you're meeting, like you wanted to do an actual class, and a collective booking is where you want multiple team members simultaneously. This is going to be like a sales call, a technical call, or interviews and stuff like that. Again, most of you are going to be over here on the simple calendar. So we're going to click simple calendar. We're going to name this. So you would name it what you want it to be said. And this here is what people will see. So this and the calendar description right down here below is what those on the outside booking with you is going to see. So it needs to be make sense to them. So they're like, oh yeah, that's exactly what I need to book. So what are you going to name this? And so this might be a technology support call. People would know, oh yeah, I need tech support. Absolutely. This is exactly what I want. I can write a description here. And then what is my custom URL? You can just put here tech support. Again, if the slug's already taken, then you just got to kind of mess with it however you want. Now, this to me doesn't matter because I can do a URL redirect as well. I'm just going to do that. So it's just easy. What is the duration of this meeting? I can do 45 minutes. You can change it to hours as well. Now, this is where I said it can get really, you can be very specific in your time where you want this specific calendar to be open. Now, because it says 8 to 5, it will override what we put in our regular custom hours over there, because you are actually saying, I for sure want this call to be from 9 to 11. I wouldn't actually do that for tech calls, but I'm just showing you guys. Where is the meeting location? This is going to show up in their calendar as well as your calendar. So this allows you to go to your Google Calendar for any appointment that's been booked with you and go, where am I meeting that person? But more importantly, on their end, they can look at their calendar and go, oh, that's where I'm meeting them. And so it's pretty simple. One thing I do suggest for everybody is if you know it's going to be your Zoom, right? Then the meeting location is here, but I'm going to copy this and I'm also going to add it to my description. The more places you have where you're meeting that individual, the less confused they are on their end. So it's not only going to be here, but it's also going to be in the email that gets sent to them as far as the reminder for the call and all of that. So I like to also put it up here in the description. So
Natasha, is there a way to add that to a workflow for an automated SMS?
yes, yep. And that's a whole nother like add on to this, but absolutely every time somebody books something with me, I then have it as a workflow as that. But I'll show you in here that this actually does a lot of that initial and after call workflow. It's more of a if you wanted more beyond that. I'm just going to do this since I'm actually creating this. I need to like actually do it right. There we go. Okay, so if you are also accepting payment on this, so if it's a one-on-one coaching call and you charge for that, you can accept payment here because you have your Stripe account created and synced into the hub. This allows you to charge if you wanted to, right? Obviously, if it's a free call, it's included in your services or whatever, you wouldn't have a payment here, but if you did, you could. Okay, any questions before I hit advanced settings? All right, perfect. So when I click on advanced settings, now we get into even more detail. And this is a lot of that, Beth Ann, where you're going to see those customizations in here. So if you have a calendar logo for this specific call or your logo, you absolutely can do that. I don't upload these, but let me just show you what it looks like and why you might want to. So let me, okay, so when I sent her my calendar link, it's showing my profile picture like that. If I were to actually put a calendar logo in there, this would be the calendar. Oh, you guys can't see that. Hold on. Hold, please. You're like, what is she talking about? So now you see my whole screen. So I'm in a message where somebody wanted to actually schedule with me, right? So because I put my calendar link right here, this is the picture that's showing, which is my profile picture for the hub. If you put an actual calendar logo, the calendar logo will show up there. So yes, we all need to have calendar logos. So you'll want to upload that right here. Again, we've already named it. We've already put our description in. We have our custom URL there. And then here is where you would have your meeting title. So right now, all this is saying is contact name. So it's just saying Kathleen, and there's no invite title. So this is a title for the calendar event that shows in Google. So you'll want to actually add in here tech support call or self-made hub. So then when I look at my Google Calendar, I'm like, oh, Kathleen needs a tech support call for the self-made hub. I know exactly by looking at my calendar that Kathleen booked a support call with me. And then on her end, it's also telling her it's a support call for the hub. Okay. And then here's where you can change the event color for yourself, however you want it to look for you. On their end, it's really customized by them and what comes in on that calendar. All right. Now, once these things are all set up, you never have to set them up again. It's just done. So it's initial load in the front, but then it's a offload and so simple. Then when somebody says they want to book a call with you, you just send them your link to your book a call calendar. So next is going to be the availability. Again, we've already set this. Again, we can literally just double check it and make sure it's there. But here's where I want to make sure I tell you here. So when you get down here, if it's a reoccurring meeting, you can do that. But your meeting interval is like, you want to make sure they're not booking you. This is me being able to control my calendar a little bit more. If I do it on meeting intervals every 30 minutes, it's going to look at my calendar and go, okay, she's got if it's a 45-minute scheduled appointment, it's only going to give them availability if there is a time that starts on the hour or on the half hour. It will never see if there's a 15 or 45-minute that can give me 45 minutes. I like to start meetings on the hour or on the half hour. Those in between 15 and 45s always screw me up. So that's a personal thing. If you don't care about that, you can literally say every 15 minutes, you can check my calendar. And if there's an open slot for 45, book me. So they would book you for 9:15 if that's what that person wanted. It on my calendar, it only shows 9. It will not give an option for 9:15 because I don't like those 15 and 45 start times. So that's where the meeting interval is going to be. Your meeting duration here. Here's the minimum scheduling notice. You don't want somebody to wake up today, unless you do, wake up this morning and go, oh, I need to get on a call with Teresa today. And I want it in an hour. Well, I check my calendar the night before to know what my day's looking like. And I don't like to have surprises that I'm unaware of. Okay. So if I'm not focused on seeing what my calendar is updating as in that day, I'm going to miss somebody's appointment they scheduled unless I'm following notifications. Okay. So I always say nobody can book with me within 24 hours of the time they're scheduling. Now, if they reached out to you, could you get them on your calendar sooner? Absolutely. But I don't want them to have that access to do that to me. right? So you could put 12 hours, you could put 24 hours, you can put whatever you want here. And how long do you want them to see your calendar out for availability? This means when they go to your calendar scheduling page, do you want it to show them the next 7 days, the next 14 days of your availability, maybe the next 30 days? You definitely probably in most case scenarios never want them to see an entire like open-ended calendar, right? You don't want them to go, oh, let me see what February looks like. Oh, actually, I think I'll book a call in June. Now, only if it makes sense to be able to book those, like if you have like, if you're in taxes, you may want them to, hey, let's go ahead and schedule your review in June. You may want to be able to allow them to see all the way till June. Like, so you might want to have that open, but for most cases, you don't, right? You just don't want to do that. So I'm going to say on here, the most I want them to see is 14 days for a tech thing. If they have a tech issue for my call specifically, we want to get this handled within the next 14 days. I would actually be like, no, in the next 7 days, we want to get this handled. So when they go to my calendar, the only thing they're going to see is the next 7 days availability for that style of call. Okay. Does that make sense? And some of you might be like, woo, this is deep. This is a lot of detail. But you see how once this is set, you are in control of your calendar. Even though people can get your link to schedule with you at any time, you still have great control of when they come in, what they can see, how they can book, and how far out they can book. Now, if, yes, go ahead, Beth Ann. Do you need me to unmute you?
Yeah, I got it.
Okay.
So you had said if the question, I had a question about, they, you know, they want to book within an hour and you're not available, or you're not paying attention to your calendar, which you answered that question, which was great. But then I had a follow-up question based on your answer. So say they do reach out to you and say, hey, you know, I'm really stuck. Are you available in 2 hours? And you look at your calendar, you're like, yeah, absolutely, I can do that. If you send them the link though, how do you work around then?
You have to
not allowing them
manually,
to.
yep, you have to manually put them in your calendar with that invite. So they still
Okay.
would be able to use that link. You would be like, so like for instance, Beth Ann, when you contact me, you're like, hey, you got a couple minutes, and I say yes. Well, if you didn't know me well, we didn't know exactly where we were going to meet for that call, I would say yes, absolutely, let me throw it on my calendar. You would get a calendar invite to tell you where to meet me at that time.
Okay, gotcha.
Yep.
Thank you.
Yep. So that's still a manual thing on those last minute things that you don't want them to have control over. Now, to kind of spin off of that a little bit and give you a little bit more understanding is when somebody does book with you, because they do have your link and you're like, how am I going to know if somebody booked with me? You not only get a ping on your phone from Lead Connector, but you also get a email that says so-and-so signed up to have a call with you. And you can go in and you can approve or deny that too, right? And they're all approved on my calendar because I have it so set up so precise that I know if they got on my calendar and it was available, I know I'm available. So next thing on here is after we get our date range in is going to be how many of these bookings are you going to allow people to book on your calendar? So let's just say it's coaching calls. For me, like, do I want to coach 4 people in a day, or do I want to only have 2 coaching calls a day? So that would tell my calendar to say, oh, if Natasha already has 2 coaching calls booked on next Monday, she is no longer has availability for this style of call this person wants until Tuesday. So you start to really get detailed on how many of these, like I would think when it comes to taxes or anything, right? What's your capacity of having those type of calls? Would you only want 1 a day, 2 a day, 4 a day, right? So you got to determine that in this booking. So for me, a tech call, I don't want more than 4 a day. And how many maximum bookings per slot? What this means is how many are you allowing in that given slot. So we have like, this is only going to be available for round robin style booking. And so you're just gonna, most people are going to keep this default one. You only want one available per slot. Buffer time, which is the next thing, is how much time do you want before the call? So your calendar knows, okay, she's not available for 15 minutes before this time. So does she actually have a full 45 minutes to do this? So that you can put in there. That's a personal thing. If you like to have those buffer times in there, I don't do the buffer times because my calendar just runs pretty seamless without them, but those are things that you can add here. So now that we have all of that done, we go to forms and payments, which is the very next thing down. So we have meeting details, we have availability. Now we're in forms and payment. So this is if you like, they're booking with you and you want them to fill out something that you now have access to read before your appointment. Okay. So this is a really good spot for if it's a coaching client where you might ask, you know, what are the DMOs that you're right? Whatever it is that you're like, okay, before I jump on the phone with them, I want to know these things for this specific call. So for a tech one, I might go, what is your actual issue? How long have you been, working at fixing it? So like by then, you would be like, I've been working on it for 24 hours and I haven't figured it out. Because she's always, and I'll ask like, what are some of the troubleshooting things that you already did? So then I know, okay, she's tried that. This is the problem. I know how to solve her problem when we get on the tech call, most case scenario, right? So think about that. And if you do have a form you want from here, then you would have to create the form over in your hub if you want it outside of the default, which is just name, email, phone, and note for the call. This is just the default one. If you wanted to have a specific one, you would go over into the hub. You would click on sites and forms. You would hit forms and you would build it. And once it's built, all of your forms are going to be right down in here. So you just choose which one you want. Okay, so name it. Like book a call, right? This would be tech call form. So then I know that's the form I want, okay? If you do pre-populate field sticky contacts, all that means, and you'll see that in forms and stuff, just means that if they filled out a form already within your hub and the stuff that you're creating in the hub, it will remember them and it will just pre-populate it for them. So it's like that shortcut, right? I like going to those sites and filling things out and it's like, oh, it remembers me and it just filled it all out. I just got to review to make sure it's the right stuff. The consent checkbox, this is, I confirm I want to receive content from this company using contact information. You can change how this is worded. You absolutely want to have a consent checkbox. That means that they're saying, yes, please contact me with my calendar information. And I would love a reminder, a text or whatever. They're just saying yes to being communicated with. And if it's a call where they might be adding guests, you can allow them to also add the guests right here. And so if it's just think about if it's taxes and it's a tax appointment with a business and they have business partners, they may want their business partners to be added to this immediately so it goes on their calendar, okay? Then when we get down here to the confirmation page, this is the blanket default. You can have a page that you create in the funnels that you can direct it to, like saying, thank you, your appointment's confirmed. You want to make it all fancy, or you can just literally have a customized thank you message right here that you just change. So as simple as you want to as fancy as you want, you can do that here. Next is if you want it just to auto confirm new calendar meetings. I have mine set to auto confirm. It means if it was open on my calendar, they booked it, I automatically confirm, yes, that is good with me. If you want to manually auto confirm them, you would switch this off. You would get a message saying so-and-so tried or is booking you on for this call on this day and time, and you would have to accept them or deny. So you again get to control that, which is super awesome. And again, if you're accepting payments or not is down here on the bottom. Okay, before I move on to notifications and additional options, is there any questions about any of that stuff? Sweet. So now that we go down to notifications and additional options, what type of notification do you want them to get? So the acknowledgement email is just, we acknowledged that you booked this, right? It's just all the information. That's what I have, that we received your request. It's been confirmed. And here's the date, time, the call information, and the location we're going to. Who should receive this notification? This is where you want to definitely make sure that you put contact. If you allow them to add guests, that you would also have guests on there. So these people are receiving this notification. I allow Google Calendar to send invitation or update emails to attendees. Absolutely. If I have to make a change or I add a different Zoom link into that calendar account, like off the calendar, I want Google to send them a invitation with the update. Okay, so that is 100% what you want right there. Again, they make you check it because it's customized to what you want. But then when it comes to the cancellation and reschedule, allow reschedule meeting, allow cancel meeting. This here is where it's going to be. This is literally what it's going to look like at the bottom of this acknowledgement email. So at the very bottom, it's going to have contact right here. This is their phone number, their email, and it will say need to make a change. This is going to be the reschedule link that comes straight off of your calendar. And this is going to be the cancellation link. So they have direct access to be able to reschedule and cancel from their acknowledgement email. So this is just making sure these are set up and checked with who you want to have checked. There's no real changes you need to make on this. So any questions? Awesome. Connections. So this is an external calendar sync. This is where you're going to sync events to an external calendar. So this is where this specific one, tech calls, right? You got to remember, what call are you doing it on? And what calendar do you want it to be set on? So if in your calendar, you choose to have all these different calendars as individual calendars, we would want to choose that exact calendar that it's going to go on. So I already said I would do this on Mom to Millionaire. Actually, I'll do it on Self-Made because it's a tech call. So this is going to link to my Self-Made calendar on my Google. So here I'm looking at Google again. It's going to connect it to this calendar right down here, but it's going to show up over here. It's just going to be color coded on that as that calendar. This sync option is a one-way. You just want to, that's normal. It's just going to go to yours. So choose the calendar you want that to show up on, and then one way. And then here's where your customizations can come into even more of that cover image. This is what does this widget look like, which is super cool. So this is where you can change your colors to whatever color let's just go with a purple. The background color is going to be that. Schedule meeting. So this is like support call. You can change that. The name on the calendar, description, and so forth. But once you get this changed, let me just throw in an image here. So hold on. I'm just gonna throw this one on there. Okay. Obviously, I wouldn't use that one for this calendar, but I just want you guys to see it. So now that we changed the colors and I changed the button text, now I can preview this widget. This is what your customer, your client, your prospect is going to see. It's that purple color, right? This is what it looks like right here. This is the name of the call. This is the description. This is 45 minutes, so forth. And then they can see over here what times I have available for them to book with me. And as you can see, I told it 9 to 11. It's a 45-minute time. They're only giving me on the hours or the half hours. So all the things we put together now is showing up that, yep, that worked. That worked really, really well, right? So now that that's just a preview. We go back over here. And now we have that calendar set up. It's all set up, good to go. I'm going to click save up here at the very top right corner. Now you see technology support call right here. It's 45 minutes, it's an event, and it's active. And when I click on these 3 dots, I have the option to delete the calendar, deactivate it so it's no longer active. I can move it into a group if I wanted to group my calls with different businesses. So if you are running multiple businesses off one hub, you could have each business in a group. So right up here, you can see you can create those groups. You can share, duplicate, edit. So next step on this is, well, I have these here, cool, but how do I get people to know like they can book with me? So you're going to click on the 3 dots of that calendar. You're going to click on share. If you want it to be a one-time link, which this is really cool, you guys. If you're like, I don't want them to constantly have access to my calendar any time of the, like, that they can just keep booking. So think of this as a consult, a free consult. Well, you don't want to give them a free consult link that they can continuously book from, because you only get 1 free consult call. So this is a one-time link, and you can hit copy. And that is going to have obviously this like API lead connector HQ, da 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 da. If you're like, no, I don't really like that, I want it to be different because you're just sending them a link. If you were going to embed this on a button, right? So like free consult, and it's a button, absolutely you can use this. It's like, boom, one-time link. But if it's a scheduling link where you are going to be utilizing this permanently, it's ideal for funnels, website redirects, and so forth. This is where you will grab that link from. So if I want to do a permanent link or a scheduling link, it's totally however you want to do it. You're going to hit copy. And then this is where I personally like to have open a couple of my self-made spots. So I have I have a couple tabs so I can kind of toggle back and forth. So I'm going to open up another one here. And obviously I'm in Mom to Millionaire. So I'll go back to settings. So this is the one that shows our calendar. I'm going to copy that link. I'm going to go over to the other one where I'm going to choose down here at the bottom, URL redirect. I'm going to create a momtomillionaire.com. I'm going to choose the domain I want. The path will be tech support call or tech support. And then I choose what calendar link that is. Now I can add that redirect. So when people are asking for tech support, I can go, absolutely, www.momtomillionaire.com/tech support. And I know that URL redirect link is going to take them directly to my calendar. Now, I always test everything. So I'm going to go here to go to www.momtomillionaire.com, tech support. And voila, it worked. It's finding available slots right now. I have nothing available. Whoa, in April. Why am I in April? Oh, it's because I don't actually have it set up. So, it's going to find the next available slot for them for this style of a call. So you just want to test it, make sure it's all working right. And so forth. Because I have things already booked from 9 to 11 and not on the hour or half hour available for people, then it's showing them I have nothing available. So that is, I know it's working. It's actually working really well because it's finding those conflicts I already have in my calendar, which from 9 to 11 is always booked out. So does anyone have any questions about that process? I know it's very detailed, in depth, but once you set up these calendars, now you have all of your calendars all set. So like you can also see, if I click on calendar above contacts, it's showing all these like spots that are full all the time. And I can click on it to see what is the image here within the actual hub and not even have to be over on Google anymore. So any questions? Awesome. That's why this needed to be a separate training, because it is pretty in-depth and it's very robust system, but you see how powerful that is to be able to have those specific, you know, schedules. So you're not going, oh, here's my calendar, have at it, go for it, book anywhere. And then you look at your calendar and go, what just happened? I don't want to talk to that person about that at that time of the day. Like, I believe in like, when is my like best high energy for that specific subject? That's when I'm going to allow those calls to be booked. For me, booking coaching calls after 4 o'clock in the afternoon, my brain has already done so much that I'm not going to be my best self for them. Right. So when I think about the day and the timing of when I want certain things to happen, where people get control of scheduling whatever they want, I make sure those times meet my energy level for that specific style or task, versus it being just anything. Right. And so you can have specific days where a call, you're like, I don't want to take any new client calls on a Friday. I'll take new clients from Monday to Thursday. Fridays is an off day. Friday, Saturday, Sunday's off. I'm not taking on a new client. You can go, no, actually I am, you know, especially when it comes to like something like taxes, it's like, no, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, I'm all in my business. I don't want to take external calls at all. I'll take external calls on Thursday, Friday. So you really get to design how you want it. And when you have all these calendars set up, you can have a landing page where it's like book, like think about your website, right? You have a section on your website that says book with Jill. Well, they click on it and they go, oh, coaching call, it's described. Is that what I want to book with Jill? Or is it this I want to book with? Oh, wait, actually, I think this is the kind of call I want booked with Jill. So they click on that. It opens up the calendar for availability and that. Think about a massage or when you go to do your facials or just in general, like any spa. When you go to their website to book, they ask, what service do you want? Then you click on it. It opens up just that availability of that calendar. That's exactly what you guys are building, is that within your structure of business of what you want to offer for people to be able to book calls with you. So, whew, I didn't know how long this training would be, but I knew it was necessary because this is a big piece to most of your guys' businesses, is getting these calendars and schedules all integrated and designing them the way you want them designed. Okay, so as you guys dig into it and create, don't hesitate to ask questions. This recording is going to go into your academy under replays. So you guys will always have access to it, be able to come back to it and learn from it. And who knows, just like Facebook, Google, everything, there's always updates. So once there's an update, we'll obviously address that and make sure everybody knows the new stuff that's happening, that's integrated. So with that, if nobody has any questions, thank you guys for popping on with me. I appreciate it.
Thank you,
That's
Natasha.
awesome. Thank
That was
you.
good.
You're welcome. All right. Have an awesome day, you guys. Bye.
Bye.
Thank you. Bye.